So I'm reading a fascinating book today. It's called Canada People's History. It's a 2-volume set. This is volume 1. I'm going to be quoting from this today as I talk a wee bit about the history of the War of 1812. If we think about the map of North America today, we have the longest undefended border in the world. And as a Canadian, I'm very proud of that, and I'm sure most Americans are as well. And we've been friends, allies, trading partners since the War of 1812 ended. But I'm going to talk, it wasn't always that way, obviously. So I want to take you back to June 18th, 1812, when President James Madison declares or signs a declaration of war against the Canadas. And it's interesting, they felt that it was going to be a pretty easy war. And I'll quote here from Thomas Jefferson, who was a former president of the United States, and he says, quote, "The acquisition of Canada this year, as far as the neighborhood of Quebec, will be a mere matter of marching." That's been quoted in songs and poems ever since. It's one of my favorite quotes to come out of an American president. He also felt that, upon the whole, I know of no war entered into under more favorable circumstances. Well, they didn't turn out that favorable for the Americans, and they didn't turn out that favorable for the Canadians. And when the notice of war is declared at the time, our new commander of the British forces in North America is Major General Isaac Brock. And he's arrived in Canada, and he's dining with some American officers at Fort George. And the memo comes in during the middle of dinner. Well, they amiably finish their supper, and they toast each other, and they depart, planning each other's demise, if you would. Now, Brock's got a number of issues. First and foremost is the size, the sheer size of the country. He's got a 2,000-kilometer border, or for my American friends, 1,200 miles. He's got 1,600 regular British troops under his command, some militia, and some native allies. The other problem he's got, and it's a major one for him, is he doesn't know where the loyalties of the people lie. American Revolution is not that far in the distant past, or not distant, it's quite recent history. He's not sure where their loyalties lie. Will they fight the enemy, or will they become the enemy? So with those issues, he has a couple of options. He can take a feeble defensive stance on this 2,000-kilometer border, or he can be bold and take the offensive position, which he opts to do. And his target is Fort Detroit. So he gets there. He's got about 400 militia attached to his regular force, and there's some old uniforms that he outfits them in, giving the impression to General Hull, who commands Fort Detroit on the American side, that he's got this large professional army. Attached to him is Tecumseh and his confederation of warriors, and he's got 800 warriors. They add to the facade by circling in front of the fort and disappearing behind trees. They make 3 circles, giving the impression there's a huge number. And I'll quote Sir Isaac Brock as the conflict is about to start, and he sends a memo to General William Hull, and he says, "Sir, it is far from my inclination to join a war of extermination, but you must be aware of the numerous body of Indians who have attached themselves to my troops will be beyond my control the moment the contest commences." So he's got General Hull sort of contemplating this, or having this vivid image of these natives having at them. Brock opens fire with his cannon and bombards the fort. The fort never responds with a single shot. Up goes the white flag. General Hull capitulates and surrenders the fort. Brock doesn't lose a man, takes 2,000 prisoners, all their armaments, and that's the start of the War of 1812. If we look at the next major conflict, in retaliation, the Americans attack at Queenston Heights across the Niagara River. And it's fraught with all kinds of problems. The militia on the American side have signed papers that say they don't have to fight on non-American soil, so they see this sheer folly of it all, and they retreat back into America. Anyway, they make their way across the river, they get up on the heights, and eventually they take the heights. General Brock's killed. only thing saving them from invading into Canada now and bringing more forces across are a small group of Indians that started out the day with about 300 under the command of the son of Brant and his cousin John Norton. And they had 300 warriors, but when they heard that there was about 2,000 or 3,000 Americans in the high ground, most of the warriors just appeared into the trees, went home. So these two gentlemen have about 80 warriors, and they pecked away at them for hours until the British could bring in reinforcements, flank the Americans, force them from the high grounds. And the Americans retreated in chaos. A lot of them jumping to their deaths into the river because there was just no escape. At the end of it, there were 14 fatalities, and one of them being Isaac Brock on the British side. About 250 casualties on the American side, a number of prisoners taken. And America wasn't off to the great start that Thomas Jefferson foresaw in his famous quote. Anyway, I could talk for days to even touch on the history of that war. But that's a wee bit of history. We're fortunate today that in different time periods of history, there are people called reenactors who vividly keep history alive for us. And we're going to have a few of them arriving here at our small cabin in a few days. So we're looking forward to that.
29th right marker! Fall in!
So Kathy and I are honored to have a few members of the 49th Regiment of Foot at our small cabin for the weekend, and it's a pleasure to host you guys.
Thank you.
And these are a group of very dedicated historians. They do this all at their own expense, and yeah, they go to no expense to do it. Anyway, we're going to go through the manual of arms.
Yes,
and I'm going to get out of the way now because I used to wear one of these red coats, but it's been a long time. Forget it all. Anyway, leave you to it.
Thank you very much.
29th. Present! Up!
2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.
Shoulder! Up!
2, 3, 4.
Order! Up!
2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.
Shoulder! Up!
2,
Port! Up!
2,
Shoulder! Up!
2, 3, 4.
Secure! Up!
2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.
Shoulder! Up!
2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.
Support! Up!
2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.
Carry! Up!
2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.
Order! Up!
2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.
Fix! Bayonet! Shoulder! Up!
2. Oh my gosh.
Port! Up!
2,
Charge! Bayonet!
1, 2.
Shoulder! Up!
1, 2, 3, 4.
Order! Up!
2, 3,
So Ryan, you've done a remarkable job.
Thank you very
These
much.
guys
Thank
are
you.
You're looking pretty sharp. And
No.
so we were going to do some live shooting today, but it's rained all night. We kept dry. Did we keep dry last night? Yeah, pretty much.
Mostly.
Anyway, we're going to postpone the shooting of black powder until tomorrow. And today we're going to play with some more modern firearms. So we got some
Fantastic.
Schneiders over here, a famous weapon, and a high wall Winchester, and some 22s. And so let's go make some noise.
Sounds fun.
Perfect.
49! Recover! Arc! Right! Face! Open pans, east ring! As a front rank! Launch arms!
Smith.
Hang on. Doesn't even need cleaning. No one knows it's that one.
So a wee bit of history from the War of 1812 time period. And we're honored to have the 49th with us, as I mentioned earlier. So today we're going to do a little scenario of a recruiting situation where a couple of young men come in. There are a number of reasons, if one goes back to that era, that a young fellow would want to sign up for the 49th and that kind of a life. Certainly it was impoverished. A lot of the 49th Regiment of Foot were Irish. They came from poor families, multiple children, and sometimes the parents would even take the king's shilling just to get rid of a couple. Anyway, we're going to do a little scenario, and I hope you have some fun with this.
Hey, looky here, Michael. What's this? A few high-spirited, handsome young men enter into high pay, free quarters, good clothing.
Well, a finer looking young pair of men I've never seen. Fellas, are you interested in all that information there?
We are, sir.
Sergeant! Bring out these two fellas a tankard of cider ale, lads. Which would you like?
I'll take an ale. I'll take anything, sir.
Ale and anything, sir. Sergeant, bring them out.
So, there you go. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So you want to join, do you?
Sounds pretty good, sir.
All right. Well, you will get high pay. You will get free quarters. And you get fantastic clothing.
Something like that, sir?
Very much so.
The soles of my brogans are all worn out. Do we get new shoes?
You will most definitely get new shoes. And there's be some other things once you join, you'll find out. Just need your name here if you'd like to join.
Sounds pretty good, eh, Michael?
Your
I
name?
think so. I'm Andrew O'Neill.
Andrew O'Neill. Your name?
Michael O'Neill, sir.
Michael.
I could tell that you were brothers when I first saw you. There's a bit of a resemblance between the two of you.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant, can you make a note? I think these lads would be fine as light infantrymen.
Light infantry.
They seem to have the quick wit and the build to do such a thing. Fellas, when was the last time you had some British beef? Because I'm thinking you need more beef in your diet.
It's been about a year, sir.
All right. Well, I can guarantee that we have British beef on the menu for you.
Wow.
Delicious. Sign here.
Make your mark, fellas.
Make your mark.
Sergeant, take them in. Gentlemen,
Will do, sir.
gentlemen, more ale and cider for you both. Well done, Sergeant. Well done, Sergeant.
Drink up.
So there you have a little scenario of what it would have been like for a couple of lads to sign up and become new recruits of the 49th. And now we're going to do another little scenario out in the field where we're going to show you the reality of what it would be like to be a soldier. So the food wasn't always that good. Sometimes they didn't have any quarters, or if they did, it would have been a bit of canvas. Anyway, we're going to try to demonstrate that. They also
aspects would, if they lost something like a button off their uniform, it was deducted from their pay. If they've lost a piece off their musket, deducted from their pay. So yeah, life wasn't especially that good for the young fellows here that have signed up, and we're going to see that. But on fast forward to the 21st century, this group, the 49th Regiment of Foot, are a great group. If you're interested in living history, they're passionate about what they do. And we're going to put a little link below. They're a very family-oriented group. Yeah, and they have a lot of fun, and they're a lot of fun to be with. Anyway, these two lads are going to go out and see what it's like to be a real soldier. Yeah?
All right. Here we are, ready for drill. You're missing a button. Do up your collar. Go to the quartermaster afterwards for a new button. Sew it on yourself.
Sir.
Sir, I'm Sergeant.
Sergeant.
Shoulder! Up! Present! Up! Shoulder! Up! Not bad, not bad. One pace forward. March! Very good. We'll do some live firing to see what you can actually do. See if you can hit the broadside of a barn.
Yes, sir.
Sir! I am not a sir! I work for a living. I am a sergeant! You address me as so.
Yes, Sergeant.
At the ordinary! On your left foot first. March!
So we've been out lollygagging about, I guess you would say, having a bit of fun, shooting muskets, making lots of noise. Anyway, while we've been doing that, poor Melanie's been here slaving away over the fire, preparing food for the troops. So I'm going to go see if I can lend a hand.
So this is some baked beans. You see there's a little bit of black bits. That's actually not burnt beans. It's a smoked bacon, so the outline of the bacon has got a smoke on it. It should be really good. It's molasses, mustard, and a little bit of brown sugar and apple cider. Cooking a roast of pork. Put a bit of a rub on it, and it'll just sit in front of the fire. This particular device is called a Reflector Oven, and it's usually a lot shinier, and as a result of shinier surface it would reflect the heat, but this particular oven still used for quite a few years and still effective in doing a roast. It's got a spigot or a spit that you can turn the beef or the I've done turkeys, I've done beef. This is a pork loin. So you just put it right up against the fire as close, and the heat of the fire will cook the meat. You have this little spot you can take a peek to see how the meat is cooking. On the other item here we have a little tiny roast of lamb on a spit.
So, got the latch finished on the outhouse, and Kathy, she says to me, what if somebody's in there and they put the latch down? I say, well, nobody do that. But I got thinking about it. I know a number of friends I got would do just that. So she suggested I put a rope on it they could pull from the inside in case a trickster come along and did that. So I drilled a hole, put the rope through, Went to open the door and realized the rope was in the way to get in and out. So yeah, I drilled a second hole, put it in, yet it works just fine. So yeah. Anyway, the 49th have left. The tents are all gone. We had 3 fires going and they're all out, and it's kind of lonely around here. Anyway, I'm going to go change out of these fancy duds and get on my work clothes. I've got some more food to put down for the winter. So we had our first frost last night. It was fairly significant, not hard, and so we're harvesting our winter cabbage today. We grow earlier cabbage, and that cabbage we use for sauerkraut. So we generally make about 10 gallons of sauerkraut in a crock every year. And this variety of winter cabbage, this keeps in our root cellar last winter. We were still eating this in March, actually towards the end of March. So it's a great keeper. And yeah, we're going to get these put away, and we're pretty much running out of things now. So we want some real hard frost now, 2 or 3, before we harvest the rutabaga and the parsnips. And yeah, stuff's done. Tomatoes, they got hit. So fortunately, I thought it was coming, and we harvested a bunch yesterday that are green. They're going to ripen in the house, and so we're still going to have a taste of summer for a few days to come, but they're pretty much pooched at this point. And time to put the garden to bed, and the last thing we'll do this year is plant our garlic and get it mulched for next year, and no more gardening for this year. So I'm going to get these guys in the root cellar. So the key to having this fresh produce 5 months from now in a root cellar is leaving the root on. So yeah, it worked last year, and like I said, we were eating them well into March. So if you leave the roots attached, takes up a little more space, but they keeps the moisture in them. So they were firm well into March. So I'm also, when I put them in the root cellar, I sort of stagger them like that. Don't let anything touch each other, and yeah, good food for the winter.